Moss.
Hello, Wendy Stuart. How are you?
I love that I'm never dancing by myself. It wasn't that a song, Dancing by Myself. I can always count on you to be dancing with me. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you? Everybody, welcome to If These Walls Could Talk.
Oh, is that where we are? Oh my God, Tim, we're
Wednesday at 2.
You didn't tell me. No, I'm just joking, everybody. How are you? Welcome to If These Walls Could Talk. I'm Wendy Stuart. This is the amazing Tym Moss, and we are so happy to have you here with us today. So Tim and I are a little coordinated as always, and you know we don't even talk to each other before we have. What do we have, like color movement on today?
I don't know. Yeah, I'm just kind of blotchy. Yeah.
Right. I'm a little blotchy myself. I'm just a little blotchy today. So we had the most incredible thing happen this weekend because Tim and Ike Avelli, Jed Ryan, and Joseph Aiello came out to visit me in Pennsylvania, and we had a hoot, didn't we?
It was so much fun.
It was much fun. Great. You know, when you put like 4 people that are crazy performers together and they have really twisted senses of humor, and you take and you put them in Pennsylvania, you don't know what's going to happen. But we didn't stop laughing, and we certainly solved the problems of the entertainment industry, didn't we?
All of them.
Right. Every single one of them. Just come to us. We can help solve your problems. But I loved having you out.
Thank you for having us. It was such a glorious day. It really was.
It was beautiful. What you didn't know, though, and I'm sure a lot of our listeners might have seen it on Facebook, I marked myself safe because we were in that flash flood.
Oh, my God.
Right. I take the Bear Mountain exit to get off leaving Pennsylvania. It was shut down, and the GPS was sending me to the thruway, which was one red line of people going south. And that should have been my indication that maybe I should go that way. Instead, I listened to Waze that took us on Seven Lakes Drive, which was flooding already. It was extremely dangerous, and then left us on the Palisades that they ended up shutting down those exits 15 minutes later. I drove through more than a few inches of water, and my friend Joe Preston texted me and said, had it been 6 inches, my car would have stalled. As people know, this was a national disaster. Vermont right now, the capital of Vermont, they're rescuing people still. And the ones that they can't get to, or they told to go to the second floor of their house. So, ladies and gentlemen, climate change is real. Please take it very seriously. I had warnings on my phone, and I didn't listen. I could have come back from Pennsylvania Monday morning, Tim, but I was in such a hurry to get home Sunday night. And I'm lucky I made it home. So
got home safely.
Thank you. That was my tale of woe. So there you go.
Now, a good friend of mine, her name is Hannah Ryman. She is a artist, songwriter, pianist, and she is also, I believe, she's the founder of the International Stretto Piano Festival. Now, Stretto pianos are just, you know, the keyboards.
Yes.
On a piano, a lot of times the keys are wide. A Stretto piano is a thinner. The keys are thinner, so that like it'll make it easier for children or for people with smaller hands, who might not be able to do like an octave and such. So
that's a great idea. Wow.
And they've organized an entire concert series called, and this is the third International Stretto Piano Festival, and they have a wide variety of performers, and it's from July 18th to the 22nd, and I think she has a little video that she had sent in, and I'll get you
fabulous
afterward.
Great. July 18th through the 22nd.
Yes, 18 to 20.
Thank you so much for joining us tonight, the second International Stretto Festival.
I created the International Stretto Piano Festival and Stretto Piano Concerts in 2021 to serve a rapidly growing demographic of musicians who want to play pianos that are narrower than conventional ones.
We're so thankful for the opportunity, and we hope that this festival encourages more institutions to purchase the instrument, rent the instrument, and have it available for their faculty and students.
this idea of having narrower keys gives a lot of hope to the future generations of pianists who have small hands.
It has been such a joy to be able to play and perform the pieces that I never would have been able to otherwise.
There's solid evidence that shows just how many pianists are effectively handicapped by small hands. 87% of adult women, 25% of men, and most children. Just think about how many pianists around the world that represents.
We've come together to offer people a choice.
Isn't that amazing?
I am completely blown away. You know what I love about this show, everybody? I learn something every day. Who knew about that?
I know.
The piano keys would be a challenge for some people. Like my husband doesn't play the piano, but he's got very, very large hands. This wouldn't be a piano for him, but I'm thinking, the people I know with tiny, tiny hands. You're right.
Yes. Well, the third International Stretto Piano Festival is again July 18th to the 22nd. It will be at Engelman Recital Hall at 55 Lexington Avenue. Now, for ticket information, Stretto is spelled with two T's. It's STRETTO. So, and just go to strettopianoconcert.org/2023 for tickets. And I would highly recommend it. It would just be fascinating. And they've also got like younger, they have some children that are going to be performing, and it's just such a wide variety of artists. I'm just very
and thinking, Tim, it really lends itself to little kids. You know, when you watch, some kids end up giving up piano because their little hands can't reach across those keys. This is a no-brainer of, oh my God, I just totally love
it's fabulous. Absolutely fabulous. And speaking of fabulous.
Oh, wait, before we get to fabulous.
No.
What fabulous are you going to talk about?
I was just going to talk about this weekend.
Yes, that is the fabulous I was going to talk about. Go for it, Tim.
Okay, well, this Saturday, July 15th, you're going to have, there's 4 hosts, but 2 of them are fabulous, which you're looking at right now. Wendy Stuart and me, Tym Moss, we're going to be 2 of the 4 hosts at Bronx Pride this weekend up at the Crotona Park Amphitheater. Everybody from the Bronx, just come out. It's just a whole day filled with performers. There will be booths. It will just be a wonderful, wonderful day. So what would you like to say about Saturday? It
is produced by, you know what? This person works so hard. Apollonia Cruz is just such an amazing, impressive person, has really produced this by herself. And, you know, beyond entertainment, it's a health fair as well. I just love, as you do, Tim, people that are so involved with the community. They walk the walk, they talk the talk, and they make this stuff happen. And we support them 100%.
And Apollonia Cruz is known as the Queen of the Bronx.
She is
so when the Queen decrees that you be there, then you better be there. Saturday, July 15th, Crotona Park Amphitheater.
Oh my God, it's in a couple of days. I'm very excited.
I know. I've got to get my costume actually ready. I've got one costume and
you have a costume.
Well, I have a bunch of changes I'll be making throughout the day, but
I'm a very basic girl. I have 2 wigs, 2 dresses, 2 pairs of shoes.
Doesn't sound real basic, darling.
So you know what? We're talking about fabulous today.
Yes.
We have the most fabulous guest, and she and I were talking before the show and found out, my God, our paths have crossed. I'm looking at her. I'm like, I know this girl. We must have gone on auditions together at one point in our lives. We knew some of those sleazy characters in this business. But our guest today, I like to say, rock is poetry and poetry is rock. She has been called a painter of words and life is her canvas. I didn't make that up. That came from someone else's interview, but you know what? I love it to death. She formed her band, the Cynz, CYNZ, 14 years ago. She's performed internationally as a poet, backed by musicians. She's got 4 albums and a 5th one on the way. She is signed with the amazing Jem Records. She's been on Sirius, internet and international radio. And you know what? She's going to tell you a heck of a lot more. Please welcome Cyndi Dawson. Yay. There we are. Yay. Okay. Tim, do we look? Are we perfectly framed?
You are perfectly framed, I think.
We're perfectly framed. Thank you, first of all, so much for coming on today. This is
very welcome.
Very, very exciting. And you have a lot going on. You have August is just around the corner. What is happening for you this summer?
Well, I'm leaving Saturday, so I won't be able to go to your Pride Day. Unfortunately, I'm leaving Saturday for Croatia, so I'll be there. Yeah, I need a break. I need a vacation. Although I'm going to be so much, I don't know. I'm going to need a vacation when I get back from my vacation.
From the vacation, right?
And it's 100 and something degrees there.
Oh my God.
And what made you choose Croatia?
Because in my business, we have a lot of European clientele, and some of them were from there. And they've always been saying, you should go there. It's beautiful. In my mind, and in a lot of Americans' minds, we remember the war. So nobody thinks to go there, but actually it's supposed to be as beautiful as Greece.
I know all about it because the people I know go there. The beach, what is the beach there called? It's the beach area. You would know it. It's like super popular, super fun, super gay, great clubs, amazing dance music. And people go to Croatia for there. But it's an incredible country that Australians and Europeans go to, and a lot of cool, and a lot of cool Americans. But God bless you. Good for you.
I'm
you need a break
to just. Although even when I'm on vacation, I always have a notebook to write in. So I'm always writing.
Right.
When the moment spurs, you have to be ready to write it down.
Right.
Now, Cyndi, you might move over just a little bit more towards Wendy.
Cool. Yeah. There
you go.
We look good together.
It's hard to tell where one ends and the next begins.
Tim, I love that.
Right? Before Blonde Ambition, and
I was like, did you ever work with Dorothy Palmer Agency? Did you ever work with Maria Greco? These are all the agents. I know her from the. We were telling a crazy story. There was a guy in this industry that would promise you huge parts in films. And he was like, and I'm not fat shaming, but this guy was really awful. He was well over 300 pounds. We were never sure if he even had legs because you go in there and all you could see was the belly and the rest of him and a desk. I never saw any legs under there. And he would say things.
And Cyndi, you were telling us about your encounter with him when you walked in.
Oh, God.
Or if you don't mind.
It's the craziest audition I've ever had. So I was working with this agent. And I made it very clear, don't send me on any soft porn films or anything like that. I'm not doing it. Don't send me anywhere they're going to ask me to take my clothes off. I'm not doing it. And so he, of course, sends me to this audition. And I go in there not even expecting this. But as soon as I walked into this very sleazy Woody Allen movie-like environment, I see these girls, and they look like your typical hookers out of a film, out of a Woody Allen film. And I've got nothing against hookers. I mean, if it's your choice,
you're fine.
But I mean, these were like movie looking hookers, and they're chewing gum and snapping their gum, and I mean, stereotypically a movie hooker. And so he calls us in, and they walked in. As soon as they walked in, then they took their shirts off. He didn't even have to ask them. And I'm like, I'm looking like this, and he says, I don't have time to waste. Hurry up. And I went,
he talked like that too.
And I said, no, I'm not taking my shirt off. And he goes, don't waste my time. And then he got up from his desk like he was angry. And I ran as fast as I could.
Well, wait, you saw, I'm not going to name this person, but he was on 57th Street. Good location, East 57th. But you saw him actually get up. I was never sure if he had legs.
And he had a cigar. I mean, it was just like such a Woody Allen
stereotypical.
But when the movie came out, and there actually are clips on YouTube, Slammer Girls was the it was so bad. This movie was so bad.
Girls.
You have to go on YouTube and look up Slammer Girls, and you were not. All I could say is thank God I ran out.
Right.
Oh my God.
I wasn't desperate at the time.
And well, as you know, this was so Me Too really sprung from this, because I wrote about these experiences even in my book, how I got my SAG card and how I outsmarted them when it came to the taking off of your top. But this stuff really went on, and the touchy feely. So now we all know there are bad repercussions for that. And thank you to all the women.
That was like what, the 70s, 80s?
80s, yeah. It was
80s.
definitely in the
I was so young, and I mean, I was I was not, I didn't have a problem with nudity or anything like that because I modeled for an artist that I had to be nude for him to
no, but
design
exploitation is
But
a different thing.
I wasn't about to make a movie. It's like
Slammer girl.
Let me tell you, I would have no problem taking my top off if it was like, well, I was going to say Steven Spielberg, but he never would have asked that.
Right.
If it was like Martin Scorsese or something.
Yeah, for a quality film.
This guy was just like, I didn't even know if it was a real film.
I mean, and that was kind of his first words out of his mouth is "take off your top."
The girls that walked in with me didn't even have to be asked. They knew what they were walking into, but I had told my agent, don't ever send me to these things.
And there was a particular agent, God bless her, may she rest in peace, that did send you to these things, no matter how many times you told her that you weren't going to do these things. And she would lie to you on the phone and tell you that it wasn't going to be that. And in the hopes that you would get in there and be desperate.
I fired him right on the spot. I went right out to a payphone, telling you how long ago.
The payphone.
Right out to a payphone. Remember calling your answering service on the payphone?
Callback.
And I called them up and I said, don't ever ring my service again, or there was no cell phones. And I said, but do not contact me. We're done.
So you had such an incredible start in this business. And one of the things, of course, I wanted to talk to you about, you ended up being the stand-in in Who's That Girl?
Yes.
Oh my God.
That's like huge.
That at the time it was more huge than you can imagine because the album with Who's That Girl was coming out. It had Isla Bonita.
Yeah,
it was one of her biggest selling albums at that time. She was hitting huge. And apparently they had a few stand-ins that just quit. They couldn't work with her.
Right. I would imagine.
Difficult. She's difficult.
Yeah, she's a bitch.
So I didn't say it.
I did.
It's a little difficult to work with.
I needed my health benefits really bad. I needed the work.
Right.
So when they called me, plus I loved Madonna back in the 80s.
Yeah. I
still do. I think she's amazing.
Let's just say she got results. Yes, she definitely got results.
I remember answering the phone and they said, hey, listen, can you be here for a job for the summer? When they said for the summer, I would have said yes, no matter what it was at that point.
Right.
And they said, and I said, who was this for? And they said, it's a film starring Madonna. And I was like,
yes. That's so cool.
And she was married to Sean Penn in those days.
Right.
It was going through all this craziness that was in the papers, the drama. But I met Cody Mundy from that film, who I still talk to him.
King Creole and the Coconut.
He was, for me, the best part of the whole movie.
Right.
Funny guy. But I ended up, I learned to do my job and keep my mouth shut. And,
you learn to keep your mouth shut.
You're not going to become friends with her.
Right.
You're not
you and Madonna ain't going to be going out for drinks together.
And you don't try to chatter up, and you don't try to be friends. You go there when they call your team 1 or team 2. We would be team 2. When they call you, you go to your mark and you do what they ask you to do, and then you go home at the end of the day.
How did you get her approval? She went through other stand-ins. What was it about you?
I kept my mouth shut and I didn't try to talk to her. But I'm not going to say that I got her approval because she doesn't really approve of other women.
Right.
She's a guy's girl, not a woman.
Right.
She had a few things to say in front of me that made me very uncomfortable. Like she looked at me one day and she says to the rest of the crew, she goes, that's my stand-in. And they looked at me like
she is a bitch.
Like she does this to everybody. Right. But I didn't get mad. I didn't, I'm like, I need the money.
Yeah, exactly.
You didn't tell her that though.
No, but I'll never forget. This is an exclusive. Maria Greco, who you knew, the big casting director who was casting the extras and everything for the film. We were actually filming at the Trump Tower. We were standing in front of the Trump Tower. And Maria Greco looks at me and she goes, what do you think of Madonna? And I said,
that's a great invitation.
And I didn't want to badmouth, you know? And I just said, oh, I don't know. She goes, oh, she's a fucking bitch and you know it. And I was like,
I love Maria Greco. Rest in peace.
I said, oh, yeah, I know. She got me most of my work back in those days.
Cool.
Great Madonna story.
Oh my God, that's fabulous.
And I lasted the whole summer and I got my benefits and I paid my rent for 3 months.
There you go.
Right. And that's really in those days what it was all about. Yeah. And then where did the poetry and the performing rock and all of that come? How was that born from all of this?
My life has been a series of trusting the process and just letting things organically
Wow.
like
I love that.
what you love will come to you. So
By the way, Puma Pearl said the same thing. I have
Isn't
to
that
tell
funny?
you.
She's
Yeah,
one of my closest friends. I love her.
Yeah,
we're very similar in a lot of ways.
she said the same
She's a lot
thing.
more practical than me, though. She's a smarter woman than me. But I always wrote. So even in high school, my teachers would tell my mother, this girl has got to write. She has to go to college. And my mother was a single parent, very poor. And so I knew the only way that I was going to get to college was a scholarship.
Wow.
And I worked really hard for it. And when I got to college, I had an independent creative writing gig. But I knew early on that I wanted to be an actress. My friend, I was in a band early on as a teenager. And so the band was based in New York. And my friend who was living in New York said, if you want to be an actress, you have to go to Lee Strasberg. You can't be in a college in New Jersey.
Right.
And my poor mother, God bless her, she's gone now. But I don't know how she came up with the money, but she did.
For you.
Wow.
She came up
Right.
with
You studied at Strasberg?
I went to Lee Strasberg.
Strasberg, wow.
Oh, uh-huh.
And 2 years at HB Studios as well.
I was at
Okay.
Studios.
Were you?
Yeah.
And I was mostly in the dance program there.
I
And
was I was with Bill Hickey.
Bill Hickey was my
Bill.
teacher.
Bill Hickey and the teacup
She
story.
could have been in my
I know.
class.
I know this woman. Bill Hickey would have this teacup, and I was so naive. And those they would think, so sweet. He's having his tea,
And the way he spoke.
and
right?
okay, would you mind doing it as slightly?
Yes, yeah.
Like, thank you. And then I come to find out that wasn't tea in that cup.
No, it wasn't. Well, we knew. 'Cause one time he gave me a sip. I said, what's in your
you had a
cup?
sip of it.
But I remember when he was up for the Best Supporting Actor for Prince's Honor.
Yep.
And he was going that night, and I had a class that afternoon. You might have been there. And he goes, so somebody said to him, are you nervous? And he goes, well, I don't know. He goes, if I get it, I get it. He goes, I have to be prepared either way. He goes, but fuck them if they don't give it to me. And he was just so cute and so tiny.
He was a tiny little man with his tiny little teacup.
Yeah.
Talk about spilling the tea. He was drinking the tea. All of it.
And the more the class went on and the more he drank
Yeah,
his tea, the more his voice started.
Yes,
in a different way. And his hand movements were kind of like that.
They got lower and lower.
They got lower. Oh my God. So you ended up after all of this, you met these crazy people in the industry that like I did. And then your life took another turn.
It's funny. I was acting up until the time that I ended up pregnant with my daughter, and surprise, it was a big surprise to me.
Yeah.
And so, the nature of the business, I don't know how you did it, but they could call you on, like, say a Wednesday night and say, tomorrow I need you on set at 4 a.m.
Right.
And I didn't see how I could do that with a kid because I didn't have any family support or anything.
And you were also in Jersey.
I was in Jersey.
Yeah, that's
Wow.
And, we were just trying to get a business off the ground, like literally just starting. And so
what
I said,
business was that?
A bar.
The bar? Okay.
We have a bar in Hoboken.
And just tell us the name of the bar too. We like to get that
Mulligan's.
out there. Mulligan's Bar in
Mulligan.
Hoboken. Go in, have a drink. Tell them Cynz sent you.
Yeah. So, I just had to make a decision. And my decision was, I'll wait until she's 12 when she won't need me as much.
Right.
Well, she'll need me, but she'll be in junior high school.
Lots of parents make that
And
decision.
then I'll get back to it. But as I was telling Wendy, when you're 12 years older, I was marketed as an ingenue, the all-American girl, even though I played all hookers and runaways.
I played a lot of hookers,
but
too.
I mean, I didn't know 12 years later where the business was. I didn't understand anything anymore. I didn't have the connections I'd had. So none of the casting agents I worked with were around anymore. So I started, I figured, let me start small. So I found a coffee shop where I lived, and it had a huge space in the back that they were doing nothing with. And I said, would you let me use this and start a poetry music venue?
I love it.
Nice.
And that's what I did. And that took off. And I met a lot of people once that took off. And then I went to Europe and toured as a poet.
But hold on, we're going to backtrack a little because there's a lot that you just said here.
Where did you discover your talent for poetry?
Yeah,
I always wrote.
Yeah,
that was always a given. And actually, When I was 17 and I was in that band that I was telling you about, Kamikaze Kitty and the Attack Cats.
Kamikaze Kitty and the Attack Cats. Love it.
We all had names of goddesses.
Genius.
So there was Ishtar, I was Isis, there was Nefertiti, and we were like a girl group before the Spice Girls.
Nice.
We had really big management, everything. And that band actually was going to go somewhere. And then what happened is one of the girls in the band, her and her boyfriend, they really didn't want to be in New York anymore, and they went back to the South. And she was essential to the band, and so
the band
so then I got into acting more and more, and then that kind of not.
But this is interesting because you did, you were raising your daughter. And then
that came later.
Right. After all of this, you had left, quote unquote, the business. And then you reinvent yourself using a gift that you already had. You could write poetry and you could do music. Neither of those could be taken lightly. And then you form your own thing.
Well, this guy over here who you can't see, Henry Size, is the co-founder, co-writer, guitar player in the Cynz. Actually, I ran into him after not seeing him for 15 years. We ran into each other again. And he said, if you ever need anybody to play guitar for your poetry, let me know. And so that's how he started doing poetry stuff with me. But then he said, why don't you just sing your words? I don't understand why you don't just sing. And I was not a singer. And I mean that when I say that. And so initially I'd make him turn his back he had to face the wall. Because I said, I'm not singing if you're looking at me. Don't look at me. But it gradually evolved into where we were literally starting to write songs. We had no plans for this to be a big thing.
Amazing.
A new project. And then somebody said, hey, we got a gig for you. And we did the show. And then all of a sudden we just kept getting asked to play Otto's or play the Delancey or play the Sidewalk.
So it really evolved. What you're talking about is something evolving.
It evolved, and it evolved without us. I hate to say this.
Lifting a finger.
We did the hard work of creating.
Right, but still.
But a lot of this fell in our lap. It just happened organically.
Right.
And we went with it. We just
I love it.
Yeah. I totally love it. I want to show your clip first of all.
We have video of your performance. Yeah. And this is the Cynz, right?
This is the Cynz.
Your band, the Cynz. And they're working on their 5th album.
Yes, we'll talk about that after we see the video.
Yeah. Okay. And here we go. Now.
I talk to you, but you shut me up. Don't care when you make me cry. To get your attention, I swallow my pride.
Yes.
Yes, Dandy. Yes. You're
Yes.
watching If These Walls Could Talk with your host, Wendy Stuart and Tym Moss, and our incredible guest, the fabulous Cyndi Dawson of.
Isn't that great?
We were just watching the song from the Cynz.
The Cynz.
It's a confusing name. It's 3 letters of my first name, and then Henry Size's Z in his last name.
Ah, okay. The Cynz.
And I also took it like it could be like the Sinners.
Yeah.
Yes. But I've got to tell you, you are
Fabulous.
fabulous.
Oh, thank you.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Oh my
Absolutely.
God. So you're working on this. You're working on your 5th album. Is that? Or have they all been with Jem Records?
No, this will be our debut Jem Records.
Oh, sweet. Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Debut.
How
now, you know what Cynz shared with me, Tim? She shared with me that during she was shooting that, she was sliding all over the ice. It was the coldest day of the year. This is suffering for your art. And she hit her head on a gravestone.
Yeah, you know, come down. The first take, I literally slammed my head into the gravestone.
Oh my God.
I almost felt like I was going to pass out. And I thought, oh, that would be really eerie.
Yes.
In the grave.
Yeah.
And it's a soccer song. So
right, I know.
I'll follow you to your grave.
Yeah.
Follow you to your grave. I'm gonna get.
How do you come up with your poetry or your song lyrics? Like, do you get inspired by something, or does something just click and you run with it, or are there different methods?
There's always different methods, but I'll tell you something interesting that I just actually was looking at today. I posted it on Facebook. I have journals from I always wrote. So I have journals from the time I was 6 years old. I used to write. And one of my journal entries for probably what could be our next single release, it's a song called Crow-Haired Boys. And
I love
it's
that.
about the 80s. You remember the guys
the minute
with
you said it, Crow-Haired Boys.
And it's about how they'd come out with their black crow hair, and you on your high-heeled boots would be cigarette stubs, and you'd be hanging out in the clubs, and everybody would be so cool. But at the end of the day, they go home, to wake up to their suits, their 9-to-5 jobs, and they, all this spray comes out, and they comb their hair down. I had a journal entry where I was mad at my boyfriend at the time, and I'm just talking about cigarettes on my high-heeled boots on these New York City streets, the crow hair, and then I took some of that from that journal entry, and that became Crow-Haired Boys, the song.
Oh.
So the lyrics were inspired by that journal entry. Other times I'll just be talking, and I'll have my phone nearby all the time, because what I'll do, I'll hear something in my head and immediately either sing it into my voice or write it directly.
Yeah.
Notes. I've also woken up from sleep and had lyrics
same here,
where I said, "Write it down, wake up," and that became some of the songs we've already recorded.
Same process I use for parodies, but I notice sometimes I'll write 3 different things at one time, and one will be half finished. One will be. How do you deal with that? The finishing. Are you able to work on one thing at a time, or do you simultaneously do a few different things?
I think that I write so quickly. When something gets into my head, I have to get it out quickly, because it's like almost as if I'm not writing it. And writers understand this. It's almost like somebody is channeling through you. And so, and that's one place that I would say that I have a real talent. I don't, I always wanted to be a painter, but whatever I see in my head doesn't translate out through my hands.
Oh my God, that's so that is so well put. But those words in your head,
the words translate out, come right out of my whether I read it or I type it out. It's immediate. So
the other night I was in bed and I woke up and I thought, oh my God, this is such a great song. It's such a great idea for a song. Oh, it's too good. I'll remember it. And went back to sleep. Normally I do record it. I just pick up my phone and record it.
Right.
And luckily the next day it took me about 2 hours, but I did recall it. I did bring it back up. So it's saved, but I do recommend write it down while it's hot.
Exactly. And the brilliant thing on the iPhone that I use all the time, that notepad, I love that, because you can put it on that then you can email it to yourself, or it'll say it is brilliant. You can be on a bus, a subway, or
anywhere,
and then an airplane,
Now,
or just
now you have there's a single that's out, right, with Jem Records, a compilation album.
3 singles
Three
out
singles,
right now.
Three singles out. Okay.
Oh no! With the compilation album is Jem Records Celebrates Ray Davies.
Right. From the King.
You can actually get a limited copy right now off Amazon. That's red vinyl.
Uh-huh.
you're
cherry cola.
Sweet.
And it's all of Jem's roster of bands, and they're well-known bands. You would know some of these bands from the radio.
Can you tell some other ones? Oh, I love this.
So there's the Weaklings that are like they do songs similar like Beatles stuff, but it's the originals. And you have the Anderson Council, who are amazing, one of my favorites. Not that I don't love the rest of you, but I grew up with one guy's family. And then you have Airplane 77s. You have the Gripweeds, whose studio we're recording in right now.
Nice.
So Carlisle is actually from the Gripweeds, is producing our next album. He's
nice.
Amazing. The Midnight Callers, who have a brand new album out.
I see. This is why I asked you. This
I
is
could
like
go
so
on
good.
and on. I mean, you
who
would know. You would know if you
Yeah.
listen to Underground Garage Radio. You'd know all these bands.
So now Jem Records celebrates
Ray Davies.
Ray Davies
from,
from the
Ray
Kinks.
Davies from the Kinks. So what song is it that you do on there?
We covered "I Need You," and what I did, because I wanted to take it. I mean, Ray Davies, he's a brilliant songwriter, and all their songs are good. But I wanted to take it while honoring him. I wanted to also make it sound like the Cynz. It was their song.
Yeah, your song.
So we did it a little rougher, and we did it a little bit more. Ray Davies kind of came from the approach of "I love you so much, and if you say goodbye, I'm going to cry." And I came from the approach that, like, I'll kill you.
I will kick your ass.
You break up with me, I'm going to
That's
haunt
it
you the
for
rest of your life. Because maybe I have a little of that in me.
I would say more than a maybe.
And that's on the radio now, right?
It's on the radio now.
Yeah, that's so exciting.
And also, there are singles that are from our forthcoming album that have already been released and are getting on the radio.
Wonderful.
There's one that I think you guys would remember and love, and that's "Tell That Girl to Shut Up." Remember Holly and the Italians?
Oh my God!
So we covered
you
that.
covered that. That's great.
But and then there's one original called "Narrow Hips." And that's self-explanatory. I love guys with narrow hips. And then "Room Without a View," which was a Smithereen song.
Wow.
Okay.
But the rest of the songs are all original. But we're not going to release everything that's not going to be on the album. But because the album took us so far 2 years in the making for lots of reasons. But a
lot of people, it's
COVID being one of them.
COVID being
and switching studios was another delay. But so there's one that's coming out in September, a single, and then nothing else until the album's released.
Wow.
Oh, cool.
You've been described it, and I've read that interview that you did, but I love that the interviewer said this, the closest thing to the sound of 1977 CBGBs.
That's been said.
I was going to ask you about CBGBs,
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, so in the days of CBGBs, when CBGBs was like in its peak, I was modeling for this artist in Soho, very well-known artist named Renee, who did that big West Broadway wall where it said, "I am the best artist."
Oh my God, that's
sweet.
So cool.
Yeah,
I was one of his main models, and we were doing performance art. And I was 17. He didn't know. He thought I was 18 because I lied. I'm not going to blame him. But my education that he gave me in art, he would bring me around every time that I was, there to work with him. We'd take a break, and he'd bring me around, and he'd introduce me to Keith Haring and Stephen Strauss, and I would meet all the gallery owners, and he'd teach me about like Peter Max's art, and it was just absolutely fabulous.
What an incredible education!
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't have gotten that out of school at all.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Day of Soho art.
Wow.
Oh my God.
Have experienced that. So did a lot of that, I know you've written a couple of books. Did this background that you had, did it influence what you wrote?
It not only influenced what I wrote, but Renee, the artist, he's done every cover to every poetry book.
Oh my God.
And he's done all our album
Oh, wow.
along with his wife Joanne.
Wow, so it's really this is a lot of time we're talking about. And you've stayed in touch, and you're working with this person. So I
He's
love
one of my
that.
favorite people.
Wow.
He really is. He's nobody ever got his sense of humor. The whole thing of I am the best artist.
Yeah.
He would be like, no, you're not. You know,
Right.
get
Who
mad.
is this narcissist?
And they would
Right.
desecrate his work on which he loved. He loved when people did that.
Yeah.
The whole point was, I'm the best me. So what are you?
Right.
Right. I'm the best one for me.
Right.
Right. As you should be the best one for you.
Right.
Right.
And he
I
also
love
was
that.
protesting against the fact that the gallery owners controlled who was a good artist and who wasn't, and what their worth was. So if you made somebody scribble, you know, worth $15,000 to $20,000, people go, "Oh, that's a masterpiece." But it was just a crayon scribble,
right?
You know. So what Renee did is he started doing all his artwork around Soho on walls. He was the first true graffiti artist in that.
Right?
And Basquiat used to before he became famous. And there's pictures I have of them together. Basquiat used to sit and watch Renee work on his West Broadway wall, and later took some of what Renee did in his graffiti and used it in his work.
Wow.
Incredible.
His work.
Used it in his own
you
work.
know what? If we didn't have this conversation, I would never know that. Amazing that Renee was such an inspiration.
And he's such a funny guy. He has such a sense of humor, and people just took him way too serious in terms of his philosophy.
Yeah.
He's done your covers for your albums, and you brought a book today. Did he do this?
Yes.
I was going to ask you about your book.
So I had an idea in mind. I said, I want a girl who's growing out of a tree.
Of course.
You know, like trees sometimes have shapes. So I don't know if you could see, there's a little bit
we
of a
can
glare.
hold it up. We have a glare, but you can bring it all the way up to there. Yeah,
Okay.
there you go.
There we go.
Yeah.
And I said to him one day, I said, I want to do like, you know, this girl coming out of a tree so that like because I was really into tarot and mystical things. And I said, I want it to be like the earth, life and evolution. And he goes, oh, you mean like this? And he goes, and then this, and I went,
yeah, you guys connect.
I
you
said,
connect.
how did you do that? And he goes, what do you mean? He goes, it's here. And I just drew it. I'm like, I cannot do that. That's not something everybody can do.
Absolutely. Well, just like not everybody can take thoughts and images and put it into words like you can.
Yeah, and also I can't play an instrument. No matter, I don't care what people say that they can teach me. Henry said, "Oh, you can learn if you showed me a note on a guitar, which is a lot of dots and a lot of strings, and then you need two hands to work them at the same time.
Right.
If you showed me a note on a guitar and had me practice for an hour, that one note, and came back and said, okay, play me this chord, I couldn't do it. I could
Well,
not
because
do
that,
it.
you know what, it's got to do with the parts of the brain, and that part of your brain doesn't work that way. But yet with
musical
words,
instruments.
it's like stream of consciousness.
I
for
could
you.
write a poem right now if you asked me to.
Oh my
It's
God.
no effort for me to write poetry.
Well, we might just do that. Might just ask you.
You might write a poem, but we wanted to hear you read today.
I would.
Do you have something you picked out for us?
Yeah, actually, well, this book is about my experiences back in the 80s.
Oh, we love that.
And you know, the whole gritty, dirty little club scene. So,
Sweet.
oh, you know what? I need my glasses.
Okay, I was going
Hang
to
on
say,
1 second.
she
Let me
opens
go-
this up. I see the tiny print, and I'm like, oh my God, she can read that. And if you can't find yours, I have really good reading glasses right here.
I'm at the highest level that
$275. Mine are from the dollar.
$3.25.
Oh, she's up at $3.25. I'm at $2.75.
Dollar store doesn't even carry them like anything higher at this point.
Right. But you can order them online at Amazon too.
Yeah.
And they're
Sure.
very
Move in a little bit more. Move in a little bit more.
We're going to come back this way.
There
Good.
we go.
We're good. Okay, I'm putting my glasses on in sympathy.
This one is called the No Heat Space, and actually, it is online as a word rocker piece, meaning that it's done to music.
I love that. Wow.
So this is again a no heat space. We might have been listening to the Ramones, but God knows I have long-term memory loss. I knew you were as high as Orpheus. We skated through hallways, imaginary blades connected with feet, unaware of frigid air, this no heat space. Dishes stacked for days, blended into stains in an old porcelain sink. It might have been you who said it first, that only blocks away Sid had murdered Nancy. You can't make this shit up. Something about it seems so romantic because you had rock star shoulders, necklaced by low-slung guitar, because we were chemically parallel, we were sailors coasting same city floors, tilted. If you killed me now, I might be famous too. Then somebody turned on an amp. I heard it. Her singing from another room. Siren, and it's there's a typo in ennui. And I knew she would come rabid for you. I knew if I slipped prostrate, glimpsed you beautiful, with light slipping from pore and lip, that the way her hips changed with seconds, you would reverse coma a kiss for her, hoping to tear skin, hoping it would end in blood.
Wow.
Oh my God.
Wow. Wow. Reverse. All right. Concepts. There is we're going to go back to that because I have to.
Okay.
Like the concept of reverse coma. Who would think of that? Right.
Well, these images of things come into my head.
Reverse coma.
I have very strange, I think in poems. So,
right.
So the way that my mind works is I actually think in imagery. So reverse coma was probably an image that came to me because I feel like sometimes people are skating through life like they're in a coma.
Right.
But when somebody gives you like a beautiful kiss, you're alive. It's awakened you from this coma of life.
Right. But where someone else would call it the awakening, it's the concept that you called it. I love that you called it reverse coma, or the dishes stacked by a sink blending into stains. I mean, who would think of the stains on the porcelain sink that the dishes are blending? And right. But it makes me think of my sink and the dishes blending into the porcelain. You have such a complex mind.
I think it's too complex for a lot of people.
Oh, it's fabulous. You have some spoken word, you don't quite know where they're going with it. I can completely follow you because you really do paint pictures of life, as was said about you.
I try to tell a story in all of my work.
Right.
One of the problems poets have is you tend, not all poets, but and I at least I know I tend to be more of an I poet, where it's about my life and things that happen to me.
Your perspective.
And one of the
in the first person.
my songwriting is to get out of myself sometimes. Not always. Some of my songs are autobiographical, but sometimes I'd like to be an outside observer and observe, somebody else's story. And people go, "Oh, you poor thing! Like, like, how did you get out of being a junkie?" And I'm like, well, I wasn't a junkie.
Right.
I'm talking about somebody else,
right?
Their experience, because I'm observing as an outsider. But my poetry is very autobiographical.
Yeah, so wow.
Wow.
I'm going to be cliche, but what a way with words, because you painted those pictures for me, and I could totally see them.
Thank you.
And of course, the reference, of course, to Sid and Nancy.
Yeah.
We talk about all the time on this show about what was real and keeping it going. And when you write those kinds of things and they're put in a book and it is published, you have kept pieces of a time going. And those are very important pieces. People need to read this stuff and say, well, what was that? The kids, who was Sid and Nancy? You have a daughter. You had to tell her who Sid and Nancy was. My daughter learned about Sid and Nancy. She's close to age of yours. Right. But we need our movies. We need our books. Right. We need to be able to do this.
The interesting thing about this actual book, itself, the physical product, is that when I was a really young girl, really young, before I was even out in the world doing anything, my girlfriend's sister had this album by Patti Smith called Horses.
Oh my God, of course.
Right? And she said, you have to listen to this. And I never will forget this. She played the album for me, and I thought, that's what I want to do. And then the back of the album cover was this adorable guy that I was so smitten with. I had such a crush. And that guy was Ivan Krauss, and he actually blurbs the book.
It was like a prediction of what was going to happen for you. This is wild. You channeled
my whole life.
Yeah, you channeled it.
Oh my God.
I met everybody that I have ever imagined was somebody. It's like I knew before I even met them that I was going to meet them. But actually, Puma Pearl also blurbed this book. But Ivan, since he passed away, and he remained a good friend right up until the end. It's that much more meaningful to me because not only did he blurb the book, but then Renee did the cover. So I have important.
Well, let's see the book again and give us the name and where people can find it.
Oh, you can still get
it right up there.
You can still get this book on Amazon. It's just a chapbook. It's not a big. It's an easy read. And anybody that grew up in the 80s, Outside Girl.
Outside Girl. Okay.
Right.
Anybody who grew up in the 80s and went to clubs in New York City would be able to get these poems very easily.
Of course. I didn't know by the way, what chapbooks were. Pearl explained those to me because she kept talking about them.
Chapbooks are smaller poetry books.
I didn't know what those were.
A full length would be a nice thick book with a whole collection.
More of an anthology.
Right. This is just, you could read this in 10 minutes.
So we're so grateful to have Cyndi Dawson.
Oh my gosh, right?
Today. Okay, let me see if I got everything. The author, the poet, the rock and roll star, the actress, and the owner of Mulligan's in Hoboken.
Mom.
And mom
is really important.
I also was a dancer, and I did several music videos. I danced in several.
Oh yes.
Right.
My God! I absolutely.
I used to be able to move.
No, I can take one look at. Believe me, this girl can move. What? So I wanted to ask you this: with all this going on, how did the pandemic affect you? What were you thinking?
That's a really good question. We did live streams in clubs that were doing live streams.
Right.
But we wrote, our last album was called Karmic Destiny, and we wrote that entire album during the pandemic. We weren't wasting any time.
Right.
Because we didn't know when this was things would open up or whatever. I said, look, let's just keep working. And Henry is kind of like, he lives alone.
Right.
So I knew he wasn't really exposed to anybody.
It's funny you have to think of things like that, right?
Yeah, we started out, he lives by like the beach in Perth Amboy. And I said, okay, well, we'll meet on the boardwalk and we'll write. Well, what a stupid, naive thing that was to say, because we go out on the boardwalk, he'd have his guitar and I'd have my papers to write on, and the wind would be blowing. I was going to
say, you could see the wind.
Yeah, the papers were flying away. I couldn't hear his guitar with all the wind. And I said, this is not going to work. We're going to have to just trust each other that, like, if we get COVID, we get it. Like, but we can't work like this.
Right.
And, I wasn't really going out and seeing many people. He wasn't around anyone really. So we just took the chance, and then we wrote that album.
Wow, you did. And the fact, like we had talked, your livelihood, you have a bar that had to shut down.
That was shut down 5 months.
How do you keep a clear, creative head when your finance source? For me, that was the hardest thing. I've never not worked. I've never not worked. And then I woke up the next day. They shut everything down March 12th. And March 13th, I had lost everything I built.
Yeah.
Okay. And I had to really rebuild it. And I remember being envious of the cashiers in Rite Aid because they had a job. I went there and I was like, they're so lucky. They have a place they can go to every day. Yeah. I had nobody booking me for anything, and any future bookings I had, I watched thousands of dollars of work go out the window.
It was so
Nothing.
Scary.
It was scary. But how do we keep our creative core going? It's what we are.
Well, to be honest with you, that's what got me through it, because if I didn't have something to take my mind off what I was facing, losing everything I'd ever worked for. I mean, I came from a really poor background, and nobody in my family owned a house. And so
this is huge.
But oh my gosh, I can't even pay my mortgage. The business that was a dream that nobody in my family ever had.
You created.
That was gonna go out the window. We did not know what to do, and I remember thinking, I've got to do something to keep my head busy, because I can't. I would sit home and cry all day long, and go like, what am I gonna do? Like, I was in such a pity mood, and I'm like, stop pitying yourself. There are always people who have it worse. People are actually losing their home, not facing losing their home, but they've lost it. And I said, get out and start writing, get out and get out of the house, go over to Henry's and just write, work on the next album, have something to look forward to.
It's the looking forward to is really the key to it. You have to create the next thing.
If you don't have hope, you have nothing.
You're right. If you don't have hope, you have nothing. And for creative people, it is about, you've got to focus. I always say, keep your eye on the prize.
Right.
The prize may change. You got to go with the flow, but you got to be ready for your next.
She's so right when she says the prize may change, because the outcome could be something completely different. But then if, they say that there's no such thing as good luck. It's opportunity that comes by you when your eyes are open. And so I always feel that there's nothing that you're going to be able to observe or see coming at you if you don't get out there and at least be open to it. So I always, my advice to people that I learned from the pandemic is that you can get through more than you think that you can get through. And you have to just figure out what can you do that's constructive, that when the thing is over, that bad time you're going through, when it will eventually hopefully end, what are you going to have at the end of that? You have to have something that you did that was constructive during that process. I mean, I'm not talking about somebody who's been in an accident or some horrific thing like that. I mean, just if you're able-bodied and you still have your wits about you and you can write, or you can, prepare yourself for what you're going to do later. Put an audition tape together.
There's always something you can be doing. And you're right. Sometimes when I get into my own pity parties, like this weekend, I'm talking about being in the car in the flood. You know how many people lost their homes?
I know someone
upstate New York. People's houses were washed away. I mean, Vermont, they're not a place where natural disasters happen.
It's very weird.
Montpelier has been hit so badly. So I thought, you know what, your experience in the car and being traumatized, you need to get over it, because there's people.
Well, as my friend Lisa from Brooklyn used to say.
Lisa from Brooklyn, we love her already.
Lisa used to say, I know everybody else has worse shit than me, but my shit still feels shitty. I mean,
that is true. You can't compare apples and oranges.
There you go.
If you're going to have a pity party, then really super indulge yourself. And then you'll want to be out of it.
Break out a gallon of Haagen-Dazs and go to it.
Absolutely.
Yes, we've got a few.
Or a bottle of tequila.
Okay, we've got to break out a bottle of tequila. We have comments, Tim.
We have some comments from people. Yes. Suze Genero says, hello, dolls. Lori Towers.
Yes, Lori.
That's why she's here. Says, thanks goodness you are fine. And we can see both your smiling faces. Or I guess, that was earlier. But yes, that is, I believe how you got here was through Lori. Is that right? Yes, love Lori.
And we love Lori.
And Jadis Mercado says, my boss is live right now. Say hello. Hello. Hello, Jadis.
Hello.
Tucker, I think that's Suze, also says hello. Karina Yanku from Austin, Texas says, ouch. I'm not sure what that was pertaining to. Suze also says, you paint with your words.
Yep.
Which I love that.
Well,
and Felipe Rose, do you know Felipe? He was the Native American in the Village People.
Yes, he was at my house in Jersey City long ago. He doesn't remember this, but I lived next to a convent, and him and my roommate Marky kind of hit it off that night. It was a 4th of July party, and
I hope you're listening.
Slept on my deck.
Get out.
They put the bed out on the thing to have like a little camp night out.
Nice.
And the nuns never talked to me again. So thank you, Felipe.
Felipe, she is not going to heaven, and it is your fault.
I don't know. I'm not saying anything. I don't know what happened. But I did meet you that night, and you don't remember it.
But Felipe says, hi, kids. Hello.
Hi.
And we have Jadis Mercado, that Mr. Bass sent me here. Do we know who that is?
Okay. Well, anyway, hello, Jadis, and hello.
Yes. All right.
That's I think all that we have here.
And that's everybody. And I love your Felipe story.
But we appreciate everybody tuning in and leaving the comments. We
always love comments. So this has been an amazing show. You have been an amazing guest, and that's the best thing anyone can tell us.
Can you tell everyone where to find more about you, find out more about you?
The Cynz are all you have to do. I hate saying
that.
Spell. We're going to make you spell it again.
If you Google the Cynz, like zebra, Cyndi, 3 letters of my first name, the Z in Henry Size's name, you'll see so many links that you could click on to hear our music, see videos. We have a YouTube channel. We're on SoundCloud. We're everywhere.
Yeah, you guys are everywhere. I found you.
I have a separate word rocking page on Reverb Nation. It's really old at this point, but all my spoken word stuff and my word rocking pieces are on that with poetry and music.
Wonderful.
And your handles, social media handles are?
As Cyndi Dawson, I'm online on Facebook. The Cynz also have a Facebook page. we're on so many different things. There's
Yeah,
this new
that-
thing, Thread now.
Yeah,
Thread.
yeah, we know about
Like, oh God, do I
Thread.
need another time
Oh God,
sucking?
TikTok.
Yeah,
That's,
right.
oh my God.
I'm everywhere. I'm everywhere by necessity, and
so are the rest of us,
I
believe me.
know.
But it really, you're right. Another time suck. Why don't I just stay in and be on social? I'm convinced.
if I got paid for being on
It's-
my phone, I'd
right.
be rich.
Yeah, we all will. I'm convinced it's a conspiracy. The amount of time we need to be on social media, and then the cannabis stores that have popped up all over. It's all a conspiracy to like just turn us into a zombie nation.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. Our daughters.
Our kids.
So
right.
we have daughters that are around the same
Yeah,
age.
they are.
And I mean, wow, how different are they than when we were their age?
Oh my God.
They're not in any hurry to get married. They want to travel. They're just like taking their time.
Well, she said it. They're taking their time. You and I were in Fast Forward. Oh my God, I want to be in a movie, and I want to be an actress. I want to be this, and they move at a different pace.
I
than
still
we do.
feel that way.
I love it. That's why I want her
in overdrive.
Right.
Still in
We
overdrive.
all want to be in the movies, everybody. Yay.
Well, Cyndi
It's all
Dawson,
about
thank
attention. You know, we need attention.
Yeah.
What do we call it? Attention grabbing whores. That's what we can call it.
It's okay because we understand it.
No,
At
we
least we're
don't.
not in the dark about ourselves.
I mean, it comes,
We're
you know what?
self-aware.
It comes from a good place anyway.
Yeah.
That you are just absolutely positively terrific. You're going to tell me where you got this
Absolutely.
bracelet before you leave here today. Can you hold that up? That is stunning.
You know,
Oh
I
my
don't
God.
even. I have so much jewelry,
I'm
and
sure.
some of it's gifts. Some of it, I get like going vintage shopping.
Yeah, that's
I
gorgeous.
think this came from a vintage shop.
It's absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
Just terrific having you here. Wishing you luck. A wonderful
Absolutely.
trip.
Thank you.
And
Cindy
Chloe.
Dawson, thank you so very
Nice to
much.
meet
We-
you.
Listen,
Nice
thank
to
you
meet
so
you
much.
as well.
And Lori Tower, thank you so
Yeah.
much
Yes.
for joining us on it. And to everyone who
So-
tuned in today, thank
so
you
every-
for being with us.
So everyone, please check out Cyndi Dawson and also check out the Cynz.
The Cynz.
Yes.
All right.
All right. Thank you so much.
Bye, everybody.